I'm Shelby Oldham, and I'm here with Mary Wynn, a preservationist here in Corona, California. I understand that you've been associated with the Corona Historic Preservation Society for many years now. What was it that got you involved, and how long have you been involved with the program?
Well, my husband Richard and I, got involved in actually 1982. The society wasn't officially founded until May of 1983, but there was a lot of preliminary work that went on. And just a large group of people came together with the goal in mind of trying to preserve historic things in Corona, the historic resources and so forth. So that was over 30 years ago. So we just celebrated our 30th year in 2013.
You've authored several books on the history of Corona. Would you tell me a little bit about them?
Sure, I'll be happy to. In 2004 or so, a representative from Arcadia Publishing contacted the Historic Preservation Society and requested to meet with the board of directors. And I didn't happen to be at that meeting, but at that meeting, the editor or the representative from the company asked if there might be anyone in our group that might be interested in authoring a book. And since I had done some newspaper articles for the Corona Norco Independent and later for the Press Enterprise, my fellow board members, my colleagues, nominated me to do the writing, and so I took it on as a great challenge and had a lot of fun doing it. And my first book was entitled Corona, the Images of America series. My second book was the postcard series, so that consists of 223 old postcards from the area. And then my last book, which came out in May of 2012, was Corona Then and Now. So I took old pictures, and then tried to duplicate the same angle and so forth of what is there, currently. So you can really see, especially in the most recent book, how mightily things have changed around town since that time.
What's your personal favorite historic site in Corona?
Oh, probably my favorite historic building is the Historic Civic Center. I can't help but walk through those hallways and think of all the lives that have been touched when it was a high school, and then in the early 60s, when the high school students moved out and moved to the campus on West 10th Street, it became the Civic Center. And it was the Civic Center until from the mid-60s or so until 2005. And so a lot of decisions were made within those walls as well. So that building seems to, in my mind, have a lot of historic significance.
What do you think has been the biggest change you've seen in the community?
Oh, the biggest change has probably been I've lived here since 1976. So undoubtedly it's the size of how the community has grown. I think it was around 30,000 or so when we first moved here. And of course now it's 154,000. So it's grown by leaps and bounds in the going on 38 years that I've lived here. But I consider Corona my hometown. I'd like to say that I wasn't born here, but I got here as soon as I could. So I've really enjoyed living here and raising my family here.
You're a member of both the Corona Historic Preservation Society and the Corona Heritage Foundation. Why are there two organizations, and how do their roles differ in the community?
Well, the Historic Preservation Society is very proactive, and with our mission statements are different, and we're very proactive in working with the city to help preserve things and so forth. We consider the Heritage Foundation and Heritage Park to be a sister organization to ours. We work hand in hand many times, and work closely together to help preserve and protect the heritage and the history of Corona, but in different ways. We have different ways we go about things. We're more involved in the politics and working with the city to do, and we have different activities that we do. So. But I'm really glad that there are two organizations because we complement each other very well.
I understand we once had a Carnegie Library here in Corona. Why was that torn down?
Well, it was built in 1906, and it was a beautiful building at the southeast corner of 8th Street in Maine. People that were in charge of the city at the time felt that it was too expensive to keep it any longer. And so it was very sadly torn down over a weekend, from what I understand. There was a Pioneer Chicken restaurant that was supposed to come in and replace it. That never happened, and to this date there's still an empty wheat field where the Carnegie Library once stood. So that, I cannot tell you how many times Coronans, longtime Coronans, have said to me how angry they are and how what a wound it is that Carnegie Library was ever lost. There's so many people who have such fond memories of that beautiful building and what it stood for and so forth, and the important role that it played in their lives.
What are some other historically significant sites in Corona?
Well, I definitely would be the Corona Depot, and that is, we've had two Corona Depots in town. Our first one was Victorian in structure and was made all of redwood, and then in 1937, when Corona turned 50 years old, or right around that time, the new depot was built, which is the one that still exists there today. And the interesting thing is, when the second depot was built, it was built with a lot of redwood that was used in the structure of the first depot. So recycling was being done even at that time. And it's very significant because at the time that Corona was founded, having a depot led to its success, or definitely led to its success, because people had a way of getting here, and goods and service and goods and materials and so forth were able to be transported here. So, and then with the Corona's citrus heritage and citrus industry that came into being, our major economic support for the city, it would not have survived without the depot and being able to ship the fruit throughout the nation and even throughout the world sometimes. So the depot really led to the success. It's one of the very historically significant buildings in town that Corona would not have survived without it.
Thank you, Mary. I'm glad I got to meet you and talk to you today. I'm Shelby Oldham, and I'll see you next time on Isle of Corona. Thanks for watching. This programming has been made possible by the Corona Heritage Foundation for the History, Art, and Culture of Corona, California. Be sure to subscribe to Isle of Corona on YouTube and watch out for our next segment. I'm Shelby Oldham, and I love Corona.